up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of MVP Unplugged, man. Today's MVP is someone who's brewing more than just coffee, a first gen restaurateur, building something truly special. She is the founder of The Kind Roastery and Brew Room. Let's welcome Pallavi Gupta on the show, guys.
Hey, that's so sweet. Thank you, guys. I'm so excited to be here.
Firstly, Pallavi, what an amazing, superb place you have got. Like the ambience, everywhere. Like I've been to the Indiranagar space and over here, beautiful ambience, earthy vibes. Did you decide everything? You were telling me you were like you studied fashion.
I studied fashion, yes.
Yeah.
So I think design just sort of flows in everything I do. It's sort of instilled in me, but I didn't design everything myself, 100%, because I'm not technically also sound to do that. But I do have a wonderful team, and I'm glad to have found the perfect design and architect
Mm-hmm.
the perfect architect to be able to bring my vision to life. I think that's very important because I'm somebody who always knew what I wanted to do. In fact, at the JP Nagar outlet, I had a fight with the architect
Oh,
for the spot that we built under the staircase. Have you seen that little nook that we have under the staircase? We had a huge disagreement on that. So but I still built it. So I have a very clear vision of what I want to do. So I'm glad to have find a team to sort of align those things together and be able to build together.
honestly, like kind is like our go-to place. Like me and my friends go to the Indiranagar space and we chill. And our go-to drink is Johnny Brownie. How did Johnny Brownie come up?
Johnny Brownie, I think, yeah, for people who enjoy shakes, it's a nice indulgent chocolate brownie, and the brownies are made in house. It's also one of our team member favorites. Sunil, if you've met him at any of the outlets, he loves this drink. So he'll endorse it before anyone
But
else
why the
does.
name Johnny Brownie?
Because it's made in a Johnny mixer. So the mixer that it's
Okay.
blended in is called a Johnny mixer.
Okay.
Right.
How did everything start for you? Like, why kind, and how did you start building it? What was the first thought in your mind? Like, why exactly this? Like, why coffee?
I think for me, I was trying to build a bridge between great coffee and great food because cafe culture in Bangalore had either coffee and just pastry, or it had lab food, or like just fried things or croissants. It didn't have fresh food. So what
Okay.
I wanted to do is build something which was more friends, family driven, something that you could dine and enjoy the whole day, spend time with coffee and good food together. And of course, experience over everything because cafe culture seemed very transactional. You go to the counter, you place your order, you
Right.
leave. Maximum, you'll talk to the barista for like 2 or 3 minutes, maybe talk about the roast of the coffee or how your day is, but not beyond that. So, service felt little restrictive. And that's something that I wanted to change. I wanted it to be more experiential, more community driven, and more sort of human led because we're building for humans, right? But you can create a five senses experience in an F&B space. So I wanted to sort of go a little ahead and think about how we make people feel once they enter a cafe and not just be transactional. So that's
Okay.
how Kind came into being. And of course, because we're vegetarian and there's nothing that existed in the vegetarian space. Everybody gave me an eye roll when I said I'm opening something in the vegetarian space. No eggs. Breakfast without eggs was something that was unheard
right.
of in the
Yeah.
continental segment.
And like
So
bakery, usually it's like it has egg, it's non-vegetarian. But
yeah,
why did you make it like only veg?
because that's the gap I wanted to bridge because I think that's
Okay.
important to understand how I'm adding value. It's very easy to sort of write on somebody else's story and be like, hey, they are doing well, let me just build something similar. But how am I adding value to the industry and to people's lives? Because you
Right.
can't really just build something without having a thought or having a clear distinctive approach of what am I doing differently or how am I adding value to the industry and to people's lives. It has to be both ways.
And like, why did you name Kind the Kind?
Yeah, I know it's a strange name for a cafe, isn't it?
Honestly, I was shocked. Like, I'm like, what is this new place? When it opened in JP
Yeah.
Nagar, I'm like, what is this new place? Because usually I keep traveling in that
Yeah.
road, and I'm like, Kind for a cafe? That's
Yeah.
unique, like that. So like, why is it Kind?
I truly believe this thing that it's very important to be kind even when it's inconvenient. That's just the philosophy and the thought that is instilled in me, instilled in the team. It's literally our team mood and brand mood because I feel like that is exactly how I want you to feel. I want you to feel like you're heard. I want you to feel like you belong, you're comfortable, you're safe in this environment. Also, Kind was born just after COVID. And at that time, people were dealing with so much uncertainty. I just felt like it was relevant at the time to just create a space which felt safe and, comfortable for people and eat clean in that sense. Clean in the sense, I don't mean in a sustainable or organic manner, but I mean in a manner where you can have fresh, comfortable food, like an all-day dining menu. That's, I mean, hand-rolled pastas and pizzas, and not just croissants and burgers and fries. So more like fresh
Okay.
meals, yeah, and food.
As far as I've seen, all these cafes, whoever run, they have a co-founder. Why did you want to start this solo? Like that's something like was in my mind all this while. Like why solo? Like such a
Yeah.
big risk. It's like a big bet you're taking. So
But yeah, I mean, what I think it's if you think about it, it's I have always had a very very clear vision of what I'm set out to do. So sometimes it's it's just that conviction that you need, and I've been fortunate to find team members at a very early
Okay.
stage that align with my goal, and
Mm.
they literally add that fuel that I need to accelerate. So I didn't find the need to have a co-founder very genuinely, but that does not mean that I'm isolated. Because I'm open to conversation. I have mentors. I sort of seek advice once in a while wherever I feel like I want to get some help. I'm open to questions. I'm open to asking.
Okay.
I ask for help if I don't know something. I'm not somebody who thinks I know it all. I'm not that person at all. I think I've been very vocal about the fact that, hey, I need this. Can you help me
Right,
out?
right, right.
And I've always believed that works, because max what will happen.
Yeah.
If they don't want to help me, they might refuse. They'll say,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, this
Right.
isn't, something I'd
Yeah.
like to do, or whatever. Their mind ghost you. I've had maybe one or two people ghost me, but being a founder, you need to let go of that ego. You need to be able to do the hard work. And for me, I think that's worked, because I've always had very clear vision of what I'm building and why I'm building and who I'm building for.
Right.
And some of my best decisions I have taken in silence, alone, cutting off the
Oh.
noise.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what's working for me. And
Okay.
I'm
But
very,
before Kind,
yeah.
how was life like? Like what were you doing?
So I've been in F&B since 2016. I set up a few restaurants before setting up the Kind. And
in Bangalore.
yes, and
Okay,
then I
okay.
realized that I didn't want to be in alcohol, or I didn't
Mhm.
want to work with non-vegetarian food at the time. And then
Okay.
I realized that my niche and where I'm adding value is vegetarian food, and
Mhm.
that's where I feel like I can really present things differently, do things differently, celebrate the produce that we have in India, because literally the flavor profiles in India change with every pin code.
Right.
Even like the regional food, like your sambars and
Mhm.
home recipes
Yeah.
of the same vegetable can change so drastically in flavor. Why not use
Right.
that produce and diversity and celebrate it under a global lens? That's essentially what I set out to do with
And
the Kind.
also, you were telling me that you're from Delhi. You moved into Bangalore
Yeah.
at 2015.
Yeah.
And then you studied in Bombay and all of that.
Yeah.
So when you started Kind, why did you choose Bangalore? Like, I want to do it over here. Because
When I
obviously in
moved to Bangalore, I wasn't very happy with the food. I'm just being very honest. It had great regional food, like no
Mhm.
doubt the best regional food
Okay.
ever. But I felt, coming from Delhi and Bombay, I was like, yeah, where's my nice like pasta and pizza? And I'm talking about a time where there were a lot of co-founders. Like Brick Oven had opened around the same corner. Pizza Bakery was 1 year before I set out to do my first stint with the restaurant I set up in Indiranagar. A lot of these restaurants have all been built around the time where Bangalore's F&B scene was changing. And I feel like I was fortunate to be a part of that process. I'd like to take a little bit of credit, but because I think I've been building vegetarian brands since 2018, and yeah, I'm just happy
And then you were
that it's
like
been
telling me
embraced.
that you were telling me that when you started,
Yeah.
there was no place like Kind,
Yeah.
like a coffee house
There still
in
isn't.
JP Nagar. In
Ah.
JP Nagar.
In
Yes,
Bangalore, there
yeah.
still isn't.
No, because like
Yeah.
I see a lot of cafes booming now, like new places coming in. Like where I stay, like in every road there are like 4-5 cafes,
Yeah.
and it's so competitive.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's why I wanted to ask you, like, why Bangalore? And then you've expanded, like you've opened 3 outlets now.
Yeah, we're also moving
Yeah.
out of Bangalore this year. So we're opening soon in Mysore in Hyderabad.
Oh, my
So yeah, and then Chennai is in the way also. So yeah, we are growing out of Bangalore. I'm very grateful for how the
Mhm.
city's embraced us, because very genuinely, I think the food that I have tried to present and the coffee that we've tried to do. So we have food for like coffee for purists, which is your espressos and your Americanos and cappuccinos for people who just like a simple coffee.
Right.
But we've also tried to experiment a little bit with people who might want to just try something fresh or something that may not be for purists. So if somebody
Right.
looks at the menu and you see an apple latte or
Yeah,
a pineapple
yeah.
pour over, they're like, what the hell is happening? But why not give it a
Are
shot?
the
You might
customers
enjoy.
open for it? Like,
Oh, jackfruit latte is something that has been really enjoyed by
because
our
honestly, like
customers.
few
They love
years
it.
ago, it was like filter coffee. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
coffee means it's only filter
I
coffee.
think it
Now
still
there's so
is.
much, specialty coffees
But don't you
around.
think it still is filter
It
coffee?
still is. That's what, like, but you're able to do
Yeah.
this successfully, opening 3 outlets.
Yeah.
Like obviously, how like when customers come, what is their go-to drink? Like when they come here, are they ready to try out new stuff?
So there are a lot of people who want to try, but there are also purists, like I said. So there are
Mhm.
people who come, they just want their espresso, and that's what they'll have in the morning, and they're out. And then there are people who want to try like different cold brews and cold drips, and they order the sampler, 4
Mhm.
flavors they like, and then they come back and then they know which one to order. So we're open to sort of giving an option.
Mm.
So I have coffee that works for a purist, works for maybe an elderly person as well, works for somebody who's
Right,
in their
right, right.
30s. So there's a variety that I offer as a restaurant. I want to be able to offer variety. Of course, we see a mix of who likes what. And even location-wise, in fact, like JP Nagar has a very clear distinction
Right.
in terms of customer favorites. Indira Nagar has a different one. So I can't really put them all under one umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah. But our
Before-
cold brews are very popular.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you started Kind, is this the way you imagined it to go?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's why I also started solo because I was so
Yeah.
clear with what I wanted to do. And I think when you own the consequences and when you know it could go either way, you also carry like the weight of being able to own that success because you've taken that risk.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like, maybe if I had a co-founder, I wouldn't face so much struggles? Or like, what are the major struggles you faced like while starting this?
I don't know if a co-founder could have eased it out though, genuinely, but I
Right.
feel the struggles, of course, the first year financially is very humbling. We're not a funded company.
Okay.
So, I mean, literally, it's just me and my parents who are, partners in the firm. But at the end of the day, it's your decision and you own every single decision that you make, right? But 100% first year is very, very humbling. A lot of things go wrong, but I think emotional resilience and stability is very important. I learned that on the go because you have slow days, your team members, the attrition is definitely a part of the industry. Things don't work out if you don't know your margins well ahead. 2 years later, you pay for it. So, I've learned on the go because also I'm not trained in hospitality. This is not what I've studied.
Mhm.
But I've learned over the years now. With the decades experience behind me, I feel like that definitely has been a lot of struggle that I have sort of learned and picked up from. But fortunate to have not fell in need of a co-founder to, sort of give me
That's
that.
amazing. So
yeah,
usually in
support.
F&B spaces, like if there's not many people who's doing it alone.
Yeah.
And you have built such an amazing community.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah. And like even the people like
Yeah.
as you were telling me, like the community you're building, how important is that to build this community where everyone is, always happy.
Yeah.
And then I saw a reel of yours where, you had made few rules, where everyone has to keep smiling when they're talking to the customers.
It's
and all
actually
of
not
that.
a
Yeah.
rule, I feel like when I hire, I literally look for good people. I can train, like qualifications is a bonus, 100%. But what happens is that I can train you to make good coffee. I can train you to serve well. I can train you to look good, be presentable, because all of that is important in hospitality. But I cannot train you to be a good human being. That is a value that, you sort of are instilled with the kind of, people you surround yourself with. And for me, that's very, very important. So one of the topmost criteria for us when we're hiring is, are they good people? Are they reliable? Because I want to work with people who, are reliable and honest, are good people. And then I feel like that culture gets driven into everything they do. Because hospitality is serving selflessly. Even if I've had a bad day, I still need to do my best and make sure that you have a good day when you're coming in and dining at the Kind. So eventually it's your team mood that becomes your brand mood. So it's very important for us to sort of instill that and hire people who already have that culture or build that culture at a very initial stage itself so they know. So it's not really a rule really, but it's definitely a founder's rule book from my end that, okay, I want to make sure that these 3 things are done. But it starts from a very initial stage of them joining our team and then, picking up from there.
Initially, how did it work out? Like, is it because of this ambience, or is it because of the community that you have built, or the quality of your food or your
I think it's
drinks and all of
everything
that?
together because it has to be
Mhm.
very cohesive. I can't say it's one over the other because it is the people, the ambience, the food, everything that creates that kind of experience, right?
Right.
So, how you feel when you enter versus how you're served, or the tone that you're spoken to, the music that you hear at the outlet, I think everything adds to that experience. So, it's all supremely cohesive. But I do make sure that
Mhm.
anybody who walks in with however they're feeling or whatever mood they're in,
Right.
they go back with a smile on their face. I want to give them a very joyous,
Mm.
happy, content, gratifying experience at the
Right.
outlet. Yeah.
Because like when you have seen like so many customers over the years,
Right.
and like if someone has to come back, like what is the thing? Why do they come back? Is it because of the people, or like the quality
I
of?
think you should tell me that since you're customers yourselves. You should tell me what brings you back.
For me, the ambience, honestly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. But don't you think ambience can only get me so far? Because if my ambience is great but my
Right,
food is
right.
horrible, would you
Yes.
come back?
No.
Or if you didn't like that Johnny Brownie, would you come back?
No,
Yeah.
that's also.
Yeah.
I feel like people come back to Kind is because it's a good division between the place and the food.
Yeah.
Like once the food is good, like especially in Bangalore, they don't care about the place so much. Like I've seen small outlets also run so successfully
Yeah.
because of the way they serve or the food they give.
Yeah.
So mostly it's that I
Yeah.
feel,
Yeah.
and especially we don't even need to talk about how great Kind is.
Thanks. But I do feel like I want to add that people always, I mean, if one day I give you a bad coffee, you may forget
Right.
it,
Mhm.
after 3 or 4 days, or
Yeah.
you may not remember the ambience either. But you'll always remember how you felt or how you
Felt.
were treated at a space. Like
Yeah.
I remember I have not gone to places where I have experienced poor service, or like rude team members. As a customer, I don't usually go back. So I feel like for me, that is also supremely important, that along with the food and the ambience, how my team is interacting with the guests is very important. That adds to that whole experience. Yeah.
But you tell that being good to people and being a good human being is
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah.
At what point of your life made you feel that being a good human is so important? Like in your teens or even before that, or something happened that made you think this way?
I think there are things happening all the time, especially in a founder's life. There is, I mean, you're dealing with a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, also personally, professionally. But that's the thing, right? You show up, emotional stability and
Yeah.
resilience. This is what it is, right? Like you show up every day, you still need to do the same thing, and you need to show up for the team, for the people, and what you've set out to do. So definitely, there are experiences that make you feel like, hey, nobody should have to treat somebody in a certain way, or nobody should have the I don't know. I've dealt with a lot personally over the last 2 years, so this question is more personal than professional, which I'm happy to answer it. But I feel like nobody needs to go through unnecessary mental trauma and torture. So everybody does have a lot of things that happen in the BTS. I don't think anybody even would know the kind of things that I have probably dealt with in the last 2 years, but that's what builds you. I think there's a very famous song, right? That what doesn't break you only makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yeah. So I think I live by that now. But yeah, it can all these experiences definitely add on to how you feel, what you want to also do differently, and what's lacking. It makes your eyes open to, hey, maybe this is what I can do differently, because
Correct.
like me, might be other people have also gone through something.
Yeah.
Now I don't know what's happening
Mhm.
personally. When somebody walks into the door, they may have had a fight with the partner, or not got that raise that they were hoping for,
Right.
or had got into a fight on the road or whatever, XYZ. But when they walk in, and how I make them feel and
Right.
how they go is what I can control. Yeah.
And also like the how important is the location? Because do you think if you would have opened Kind somewhere else instead of JP Nagar, Indira Nagar, do you think it would work out that well only, or does location matter?
See,
Setting it
for
up,
me, I
yeah.
think it is important. I wouldn't say it isn't. But the fact that we open in JP Nagar also, the first Kind is not on a high street. We're opposite a beautiful temple. We're in a very quiet corner. There was no cafe. I think there was only an Indian restaurant that was down the road, and there was Benki, which was just across. But there was nothing on that road. Parallel to that, of course, larger than life breweries. There was a lot
Correct.
of activity on the parallel side.
Mhm.
I do feel like eventually what I was trying to be at that point was more curated, more sort of thought through, more community led. We wanted people to. We knew that if we're serving good food, coffee, people will find us.
Okay.
So I truly believe that. I'm not just saying that I would ride on a high street. Of course, it's a good strategic decision. If you find a spot, you can afford it, great. But if you can't, then I mean, at that point, because this was the first kind I was building, I had my budget constraints, and I had to look at everything. I wanted a large space. We've got a double height, beautifully sunlit space there.
Yeah.
So at that point, that was my perfect decision. And then, of course, when the 12th main property came to us, we were like, at that point, we also had proof of concept. We had the budgets. We were able to open on a high street. So Kind Indranagar was actually the third one. The Bellandur outlet was the second outlet that we opened. So the location is important, but it's not the only thing that decides how successful or unsuccessful your brand will be.
But which location runs the most? Like, which is running better?
Better.
Like,
Actually, the dynamics are very different in all the three locations. Of course,
Okay.
12th Main is a high street. We do a lot of events. But JP Nagar is like the hub of coffee, right? In Bangalore. So
Yeah.
that has a very different audience. Also, I can't really compare the three because they have very different energies. Here, it's a tech park. JP
Right.
Nagar, it's a quiet, street
Yeah.
opposite a temple. It's got a very different vibe. And Indranagar is our 12th Main, busy high street. So very different dynamics. JP Nagar and Indranagar are almost like shoulder to shoulder. Internally, we have some fun contests that we keep doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Bellandur is not too far. We'll
and
get
like
there.
every kind has the same menu, or like
It's the
you
same
show-
menu.
it's the same.
It is the same menu. We do some events which are slightly different, keeping in mind the audience that we're catering to. But largely, the menu remains the same.
And you keep changing the menus, or
We
like,
do. We work
okay.
with a lot of seasonal produce because, we want to celebrate Indian ingredients, right? So
Right.
if there's strawberry season or mango season, I mean, the jackfruit latte is also a seasonal thing that we do only in the summer because we don't use puree, like ready-made sauces, and we make in-house purees with fresh fruit. So we do a lot of seasonal menus.
Okay.
There's one thing that I really want to talk about that I think we do differently is being able to cater to, like, if you ask me who my TG is, I can't define it. Because if you see our kind at any of the locations, if it's JP Nagar, I have senior citizens coming in, I have priests from the temple coming in. They'll be wearing dhotis and just walking in and having their lunch and, going back. Indranagar, we see families, people coming in from the gym, just taking a takeaway, walking their dogs. We have people who are regulars who come thrice a week. And then in Bellandur, there's this high energy, morning coffee, quick breakfast, go. So it's very, like, I even 3 years later, I've not been able to set a clear distinction of, it's really strange because we've sort of been able to build for everybody. I think I've reached a point where I say the kind is built for everyone. This is Sunil, if he's still on the cam. Yeah.
Then what's your favorite item on the menu?
I have too many. I don't think I can pick. The key lime pie is something that's extremely personal to me. I love it from the bakery section. The Australian saker is something that, when I traveled, I discovered this in, where did I go? Salzburg, yeah.
Oh.
And then that's when, in Austria. So that's when I realized that, hey, why don't we make something like this? Of course, it's not up to that standard, but I feel like I've been able to do a good saker here.
This is coming from someone who wants to start a cafe or something.
Right.
Which age group of audience come the most? Like, let's say 20 to 25, or is it
The
a bit more
customers.
older?
I think it's important to understand what the offering of the cafe is. First thing, is it a quick service space? Are you, going big on food and coffee, or is it just coffee? Because there needs to be more clarity in terms of what is the serving to define, or you want to do it the other way around, where you know your audience and then you're building something for them.
Okay.
So I think there's no like blueprint that I can say this is it. Yeah.
Okay.
What's difficult? Is it attracting the customers or retaining them?
I think retaining, yeah, it has to be retaining, in my opinion, because attracting I can do with like offers. I mean, we've stayed away from offers. We don't offer discounts.
Yeah.
We're not on any discounting platforms. But I do feel like the only way they come back is because they have good coffee, good experience, good service, everything cohesively. So retention is, if you've got retention, you won.
Yeah.
I can come once, but if I don't come back again,
Yeah.
Correct.
there's no point. That marketing budget is wasted.
And how big does marketing plays, like in an F&B space in this industry? Like, how do you market your brand? Is it social media, or do you do
Run
Yeah.
ads on Meta or something like that.
See, first things first, I think it's very important to get the product, because I've seen a lot of people do marketing when they don't know what they're selling, and how are you going to market also. You need to know distinctively that, hey, these are the 5 things I'm doing.
Right.
This is the product that I want to talk about. So that clarity is very important. Once you have that clarity and say, okay, this is what I want to talk about, and this is what is marketing. But marketing also is very broad. Without a
Yeah.
product, you can't market anything,
Correct.
and who are you marketing to also has to be
Right.
very clear. So it's definitely important to talk about your product. I think even what I'm doing today is marketing
yeah.
the kind and
Yeah.
marketing my founder's journey, right? So
Correct. And
I
how
think it's very
important is that? Like, like I've seen your
Yeah.
IG, like you keep connecting to people. So we all can see, right, what you're doing in kind, how you're talking to everyone.
Yeah.
How important is that for a new founder? If I want to start something like this,
Yeah.
do I have to? Is it compulsory for me to build my own brand on IG, where I'm connecting, trying to build a community outside as well?
I think today the audience also wants to see conviction. And I think that when I started talking about why I'm building in the vegetarian space is also so that I can, first thing, make sure that the consumer understands why it's vegetarian. Because a lot of people, have heard of the kind, they come in and then they're, okay, are you serving eggs? But then they come back and then spend some time, enjoy the food, and they're, hey, we didn't miss the meat. So today people want that conviction. And as a founder, a lot of the team, like Akshataya, she's pushed me to start putting out content with me talking about why I'm doing things in the vegetarian space, because there's nobody that was really building a brand through that lens. And I think the consumers today need to know why or what, and
Yeah, I think the
humanizing the brand has
story-
become important.
I think the story matters a lot. Like everyone
Right.
wants to know, like, why you're doing this,
Yeah.
how did you start all of
Yeah.
this, and that's when you can build such a strong community. What you're already doing.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
that matters
I'm
a lot.
glad
I
it's-
feel. Yeah.
Yeah, been
Because
able to build that. It's
when
great.
you put out your story, like I
Yeah.
think people, more than they get inspiration, they are like more connected to kind.
Right,
Like, okay, this is the reason I should go here.
Yeah.
Or it's like more personal to them.
right.
Once they know your story, it'll be like, yeah, okay, fine. Now it's like, my place there.
Yeah,
I know the
yeah.
place, I know the story.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, come, I'll take you somewhere, and this is the place of the story. They sit here, they talk about it. So it'll more be like, it's their home place, something like that.
Yeah.
So I think the way you've built it is very great.
Thank you. I'm so happy
And
to
do
hear
you
that.
think the time you built it was working out for you? Because now coffee places are booming, but do you think it'll sustain like that over the years, or will there be like high and low, all of that? Because now, to be very honest, like all these resto bars and all of that,
Yeah.
there's no one going, because all of us, our generation, no one wants to go there. Like we all are, everyone knows it. Like no one's going to these pubs or anything like that.
Yeah.
But people usually like to hang around in cafes, and we all are in for this more. So do you think the time you opened kind was important, and it worked out that well for you because of the time?
See, 100%. I think foresight in any business is important. You need to
Mm.
know, at a time. I can't say that I want to build something which is not for this generation, right? So
Right.
I think it's important to stay in the wave, because you don't want to, or build something slightly ahead of the wave. You don't want to become obsolete. Like Nokia being the biggest example for what they were building. But I think um, humans or people in general are built and made for connections. So if
Right.
I'm able to bridge food, connection, and coffee together, why not? Also, if you see, like even today, we're sitting across the table, and that's been a conversation starter for us, right? So I think
Right.
food has always been a conversation starter for families and friends, or even strangers. So human connection is never going to be out of fashion.
Right.
Yeah. But coffee culture, 100%. I do feel like a lot of people, things go wrong when you build on somebody, or you're riding on somebody else's success just because somebody's done it. You do the same thing. People are not really thinking about how I'm adding value, or what am I doing differently. Is my coffee different? Is my experience different? Is the food different? Or what is it that differentiates me from an XYZ space? I think that's something that really needs to be thought through, because of course a lot of people are now joining that wave of, or everyone wants a piece of the pie, but at the end, how are you going to be able to, because this is something that is so repetitive. Like F&B is very repetitive. You need to breathe it, live it, and be open to constant operations. It's a very operationally heavy business to be in. So unless you absolutely have it in your core, or you are a people person in that sense, because you're managing people. Today we have a large team size. It's not something that we started with, but as and when you grow, and then you know, when you want to opening the first and the second outlet, replicating not just the SOPs in the kitchen, and it's replicating the same culture. So that you really need to, you know, be very sure that this is something you're in for the long run, because also it's not quick money. Yeah, it takes easy about 18 to 24 months to sort of, you know, reach a point where you get your ROIs coming, and then you know, a little more stable financially in the business. So are you willing to take that risk? That's something that really needs to be thought through.
Coffee, more than a drink, it's like a supplement for people. Like it has kept evolving from time.
Yeah.
So what do you think, like being in this coffee space, what do you think will change in coffee in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, do you think like people will start preferring this more? Like, especially like, I think for our generation, they have, you know, cut down on sugar a little bit.
Yeah.
So do you think like even shakes will be in trend, or, you know, you have to change something for the next 5 years? And, you know, it's like something, one specific thing, what you would change, like, or what you think the whole space will change about it?
I genuinely feel like there are a lot of brands that are putting coffee in the forefront. Like for us also, like having a large menu has worked. A lot of people would say, why don't you make a, you know, precise menu? But for me, my idea was to make sure that I can give people an offering in coffee which is not very, you know, that there's this sense that coffee is bitter or it's acidic. Or so we have options for people who, you know, are not enjoying coffee as a forefront, but still can enjoy it, say with a cranberry or with a coconut, and have that little regional influence in it. But I do think that over the years, coffee has come into the forefront, especially Indian coffees have come into the forefront, like the estates and the roasts and different profiles that we work with are, I mean, people are willing to experiment today, which wasn't the case 5 years ago. It was just very like cappuccino, Americano. I don't think cold drips were heard of so much, or home brewing was as popular. Now, you know, even homes and offices have good brewing equipment. People are not having instant coffee anymore. There's more awareness. So I feel like we've been able to add to that knowledge a little bit. People, you know, open brew bars set up, so people are being able to see what is being roasted, how is it being roasted, how is it being made. The kind of questions that customers also ask baristas today are very, you know, curious. They're curious about what's being made, what is the blend, where it's being brought from. I think they want that transparency, that traceability also. So I think cafes have also built on that story today. They want to be able to talk about the estates or the roasts, or, you know.
But actually,
different
where
kinds
is
of
your
washes.
coffee from? Like the beans?
Where we make a blend of 3 different beans.
Okay.
Yeah, but we use Indian coffees only.
Okay.
Yeah. We're made in India for Indians.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, we like to grow globally, but yeah, that's the vision for the next 2 years at least.
But do you think like you can grow globally only with the Indian coffee?
100%. There's
Okay.
nothing that holds us back. Our coffees are too good.
Okay.
I mean, Indian coffees. I don't just mean coffees of the
Mhm.
kind, but like Indian estates are doing an amazing, incredible job. Yeah. I mean, largely a lot of our good quality coffees already get exported. So it's not like they're not
Oh,
already
okay.
on the global platform. Yeah.
If someone wants to start something like what you have built,
Yeah.
how much capital does that person require, you know, to build something like this space?
Yeah, so you know, I think for me, if you're looking at ambience also, and you're looking at, you know, that team culture and having offline online integrations and all of that, I think a good 1.5 to 2 CR is something that you should be prepared for.
And what percentage of your capital should be spent on marketing?
I don't think I want to give my insights.
Not yours. Not yours. Like, let's
No, but
say.
there's no blueprint, genuinely,
Okay.
because every cafe is very different. I'm not just saying this because I
Hmm.
don't want to share my numbers. I'm happy to do that, but there is no blueprint because it totally depends on what kind of cafe you're trying to build today. Because there's so much. I could be a 1,000 square feet space selling coffee, like great coffee. Like there are a lot of brands in Bangalore
Yeah.
who are doing that, and then you could have a 3,500 square feet space like mine. A lot of people now don't even, they call themselves a roastery. They don't have an in-house roaster. They're also, you know, outsourcing the roast profiles. So that cuts your costs a little bit. Like we have an in-house roaster, so that adds to that cost because roasters, these are heavy equipments, they're expensive equipments. So it totally depends on, you know, what your model is. Are you looking to, you know, outsource your
Mhm.
beans? Are you roasting in-house? How large you want your space to be? Are you, you know, doing digital menus? Are you doing physical menus? Are you built for quick grab and go, or are you built for an experience? There's no real blueprint that I can, because marketing would vary on all of those factors. Yeah.
So what do you think like is one major thing that most of these cafes, the people who run the cafe don't do?
Don't do.
Yeah.
I think build culture and
Mm.
consistency. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
that's how Kind was
Yeah.
born, because I could see that gap. It was very transactional. It just come, get your bill, get your coffee. That bill will come in one tray. You have your coffee and you go.
Mm.
There was no conversation, no communication. You could never even probably approach another person and be, hey, how's your day going, or what do you do?
Mm.
Today in Bangalore, you see people being able to build connections and conversations over coffee in cafes. Yeah, that's changed over the years.
Mm.
Yeah. And of course, I think cafes didn't serve fresh food back in the day. It was only croissants and fries and those frozen nuggets and all those kind of
Mhm.
things. And then of course there was croissants, which I think has been synonymous with coffee, but nothing that served fresh food.
But you talking about like coffee is so complicated about the roast profile
Yeah.
and everything. How did you like, did you get yourself educated into it? Like how was that process? Like before even you started, like it's too complicated to hear. Like,
Yeah.
so how was it? Like,
Like, how did you get everything right?
yeah, that's exactly the question.
Like I said, I'm not afraid of asking and seeking
Okay.
help. Like I did do the course, I did train with SCA before I launched, because I felt like it's important to understand the process. I have cleaned tables of guests and picked up plates. My initial years, I have, because I feel like that's the biggest way to learn, or like the way it teaches, it also humbles you as a founder. It's very important, because I've seen people give orders, but I feel
Mhm.
like that's the easier part. But you understand the struggles only when you do it yourself, and then you know, hey, this is what I can do better, or this is how I can do differently. So that journey is extremely important, and I'm somebody who's very open to asking questions. I have had mentors, I have taken advice, I speak to like my dad for financial advice a lot. I mean, I speak, my mom tweaks my recipes sometimes. Like she doesn't sort of know how a commercial kitchen works, but she knows flavors really well, and she'll taste this and say, try to do this differently, and maybe that's it, and enhances, or pair it with this. I've actually taken that advice, because I try it. I'm not afraid to experiment. So if it works, it's my kitchen, I can do
Yeah.
it.
Right, right.
So if it's a disaster, it's fine. I
Yeah.
own that disaster also. But if it works well, why not?
Correct.
So I'm open to seeking advice whenever, with whoever.
Okay.
My team sometimes corrects me and tells me, hey ma'am, we can do
Okay.
this or we can do that. They also get ideas, and I think that's how you build a team of leaders. When they start telling
Right,
you,
right, right.
Yeah.
let's do this, let's do that, I think I've done I've reached a point where I feel like I've been able to build a team of leaders and decision makers within the company, which is very rewarding as a founder. Yeah.
What was the first reaction of your parents when you said them that I want to start this?
I mean,
Or was it
I
like
actually gave a complete business plan, because
Okay.
I'm a banya. My dad is a proper
Oh,
businessman.
okay.
So he's like, what's
Now
the
we got to
ROI?
know
What's
why does it work out?
Yeah.
How did
So-
everything get right?
that
Now
maybe
we-
that's why. But yeah, like there was a proper proposal and a business plan that I had shared with them. But yeah, my dad had no idea. My parents had both, like, I think my mom had not seen any renders or pictures or anything. She knew I was doing something in F&B, but they didn't know what and how it's going to look. And when they came to Bangalore, straight from the airport, I remember they came to the JP Nagar outlet and they just paused. And but I was just looking, and this is something we talk about. He just told me this 3 days ago, and he was just like, it was just looking so big and grand, because JP Nagar also
Yeah,
like got
right,
that double
yeah,
height,
right.
and it's full glass and gives you that little.
Mm.
It's not your regular coffee shop vibe.
Yeah.
So I was very happy with what we created, and I think that joy on my parents' face was quite nice to see.
Give us, like a few pros and cons
Yeah.
about the F&B industry.
What do you want me to start with?
Anything.
Okay, the pros. The pros definitely is very rewarding when you see people enjoying your food, you see people having a good time, and you see people, say good things about
Mhm.
all the things that you've done
Right.
right or have worked. It's very rewarding. But it also sort of puts you under that pressure that, you have to do this
Mhm.
consistently and make sure that you continue on that journey and not sort of divert. It's very easy to get diverted and, ride on what's, "Arey, ye trend ho raha hai, ye kar lete hain." But it's hard to have that focus and clear vision in terms of what you're building. So that's something that is a pro and a con. You need to sort of work it out and balance that. Also, it's a public facing business. It's So you get to meet a lot of people, you get to build a lot of connections, you get to see all sorts of people walking in and out if you spend time at the restaurant. Of course, not from the office as much. Lots of more pros. I think the opportunity to be able to grow in different cities, to be able to scale,
Right.
comes with its challenges, but again, it's something that can be done and enjoyed thoroughly. Yeah,
And the
work with a
cons?
lot of fun people. I think I've been able to work with a lot of young founders and be a part of their journeys in some way, which adds to my story. I enjoy that. At the kind, I try to also like give artists. We work with somebody who's made something fun. I'm working with Mehnaz now, who's designing this product for us, which we launched our merch line. So we work with
Okay.
a
I saw
designer
that
who's done
outside,
that. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. So I think I like to work with a lot of young individuals who have a different offering or can add value to the kind also in some way. It's nice. The cons. F&B, yeah, you need to let go of your, your New Year's and your Christmas and your Diwalis and your birthdays and Valentines and, all those topical days that you might want to enjoy. Because when everyone's partying, you're serving and working, and operations for us start at least 2 or 3 weeks before we start planning. So there's a lot of work on all of those heavy days. You need to be able to handle teams and people because this is a public, people, human facing business. So if you are not social, I feel like that could be a problem. Otherwise, you need to have somebody on your team or a co-founder who can, sort of, because today I feel like it's important to have a face to the brand.
Were you always this easy to talk to?
I think so. I don't know. I wouldn't know actually. I
Because,
think the
like,
people
it's-
around me would know.
yeah. I think that's why it's like it's easier for you to build this community because it's very easy. Me talking to you, asking questions.
Yeah, are you
yeah,
comfortable?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm enjoying this.
That's good to know because I would assume that I can speak to, because I've had friends of all ages, so I think I would take that as a cue to maybe answer that question, because I've had friends who've been much younger, much older, so maybe, I don't know.
Like, what was the most difficult thing, like, for you to build something while starting in this industry?
Most difficult.
Yeah.
Most difficult thing that I'm just trying to see what would be most difficult. See, definitely moving to a new city. I'm not from Bangalore, so there was nobody to really give me that first push or introduce me to people or do all of that. So just building in silence and building with a very clear vision. I've had like those very crystal clear cutting off the noise kind of thing, but I'm not complaining. I'm saying that as just that was tough because I would have probably, like, if this was home ground, if this was a somewhere
Yeah, it
I've
would be
grown up,
more
it would have
easier.
been slightly easier,
Right.
or build that network or build that connection. But the city has embraced us beautifully, so no complaints. But that had been hard initially.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean now it's 10 years in the industry, so of course now things are different. Yeah.
What do you think are the most difficult things in this industry? What maybe people miss out, or they don't concentrate on, or they think that is a very little thing, but it turns out to be very big?
Yeah, I think for me it would be knowing your margins, because if you don't know your numbers or you don't respect your numbers, it costs you in 2 years. Inventory, keeping operational costs in mind before you start, because you don't start making revenue on day one. So you need to sort of keep that uh, bandwidth to be able to sustain and then build that further. The next would be probably hiring too suddenly and not giving team time to sort of train with your processes. Not having clear SOPs can really create a chaos in service. Also giving team time to just understand what they're building and what they're doing and how they're adding to that experience, right? Because it's a team that's serving every day. So I've seen people probably start a restaurant tomorrow and then hire 2 days before. That doesn't work because the team doesn't know what they're serving. They don't know what are your best sellers. They don't even know what the food tastes like. That is, I feel, a disaster, because, and I make sure I don't do that. I think that's something I learned very early. So our team sort of knows every single taste and dish on the menu. Like they know what to, that's how they recommend, that's how they know, they understand what you might enjoy once they understand what kind of coffee you like, recommendations. These things I think need time, and we're building for humans, right? So interaction is extremely important. The tone that you want the team to speak in. These are things that are small things that add a lot in the long run. Other thing that I think people go wrong with is not staying calm and cool. Like hospitality
Yeah.
has to be like, you cannot be on the edge. You cannot have an ego.
Even in the
Uh,
number wise, like
yeah.
everyone is in a hurry for the break-even point.
Yeah.
Like how much time is ideal for
No,
you
I think
to?
it's very important to just continuously
Yeah.
do the same thing every day, not work for the
Mm.
applause. The applause
Right.
follows once you do,
Mm.
you know, when you're doing it right, when you're doing it every day, doing it correctly, doing it consistently. I think that's what gets you that applause and reward at the end of the day. So if you're working for the reward, then your focus is there. You're not really
Right.
focused on your actual job. I mean, of course, numbers are supremely important,
Right.
but they will come only if you do this right.
Yeah.
There are no numbers coming if your service is inconsistent or the food doesn't taste the same. For me, it's very important that the same dish tastes the same across all the locations. Also
Mm.
tastes the same when it's delivered, not just for dining.
Right.
So getting that right is very important first. Then that reward can keep coming in. Then that's what gets that attention as well.
How do you manage with it? Like I've seen major brands, like big brands I don't want to name.
Yeah.
They, if the one outlet tastes different than the other one, how do you manage with that?
So of course SOPs are very important. We know how much, which plate it has to go, how many grams have to go. Our vendors are very stabilized. We don't change vendors often because sometimes
Mhm.
one ingredient is not available. You're forced to buy from somebody else. That changes the taste. So if I've changed the brand of a certain ingredient that I'm using, that changes the taste. So I think consistency in your purchase, your inventory needs to be very, very clear. SOPs have to be very, very clear. Of course, we do get customers who sometimes are, they order a pizza and they're allergic to mushroom. They don't want it. So of course, I don't take that account and into consistency. I won't say that, obviously a mushroom pizza will not taste the same if it's without
Yeah.
mushrooms.
Hmm.
We're able to build and bend the SOP a little bit depending on, if there's a need. But largely, your SOPs have to be crisp to be able to make a replicable
Right.
restaurant.
What are the most craziest things that have happened in Kind over the past few years?
This very outlet, actually, this happened a few months ago. So the team walked in the morning, the opening shift, and there was a message saying that our plants were stolen. So the plants are gone, and then we're like, okay, why would somebody take our plants? And we check CCTV footage. There's a man who's come with a bag and a
Oh
little
my God.
plastic, and then he's not taken the pot. He's ripped the,
Oh my
uprooted
God.
the plant and just kept the saplings in the bag and walked off. So, I mean, I found it funny, but I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. So we just, got more plants the next day. So that's something that's happened. We've seen our cutlery getting, slipped into bags.
Oh my God.
I'm happy that they like the cutlery, but yeah,
I think
we've
this is
seen
the
it.
problem most of the place faces.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was alone.
I've
Okay.
I've seen a coffee shop where they used to serve coffee in a brass cup,
Yeah. Okay.
and after a point of time they stopped serving the brass
Okay.
cup because people started stealing those cups,
Mm-hmm.
and then they switched to stainless steel.
Wow, okay. No, I haven't had the thought of changing my cutlery though. But yeah, like we've seen that. Then there was a very, I don't know if it wasn't funny, but it was a bit scary that there was this girl who came into our Kind Indranagar outlet and she was looking for her fiance. And
Okay.
her fiance had him, sort of brought this narrative that he's one of the partners at the Kind and Indranagar, and she's come with her
Oh.
parents for a Roka ceremony, which was
Okay.
supposed to happen the following weekend. And then that guy was supposed to pick her up from the airport and all of that. And
Okay.
it was heartbreaking to see her just crying and crying and crying. And I happened to be there and I was just like, I'm so sorry, but there is nobody with this name and there's nobody even employed in this name. I had to, just sort of calm her down. But this has happened. And I think that this thing has stayed with me that, it was appalling more than, or like scary more than funny. It was definitely not humorous, but it was unfortunate that she was in this position. That's happened. What else has happened? Yeah. We've also had to fix problems that really weren't our mistakes. I think
Okay.
there was a time where we've seen a customer put in,
Mhm.
things in the food and complain about it later.
Oh my God.
It's unfortunate, but yeah, these are things that happen. Yeah.
But what do you guys do about it? Like if they be like there is something in the food and they want it replaced or something.
Genuinely these things do happen. I wouldn't deny that they
Mhm.
don't sometimes happen from the restaurant also. They do happen. But I think for us, corrective action is supremely important. We're very, very hygienic, and we check our SOPs. We understand where we went wrong, and make sure that this does not repeat. I think that's very, very that's non-negotiable. Hygiene and this kind of mishap is it's actually a restaurant's worst nightmare. But I wouldn't say it doesn't happen. It does happen, but corrective action is extremely important, and we try to fix it immediately.
What are the things that future Pallavi Gupta want to start this? Like, what are the tips that you want to give them?
Future
Founders,
founders.
wanna,
Okay,
No?
I think one thing is
Vision.
definitely conviction and a very, very clear vision. Like, make sure that you're,
Mhm.
very clear about what you're trying to build and how you want to build and who you
Mhm.
want to build for. That's supremely important. And emotional resilience and stability, because anything you build is going to have highs and lows. You're going to deal, you might have a bad day, you might run out of money, you might have to
Mhm.
rework your budgets, or, sort
Right.
of start small and then grow depending on, your struggles. But emotional resilience and stability and focus is something that you definitely need to be able to build yourself and show up again the next day and do the right thing again. So, and I think hustle culture is very overrated. So
Mhm.
you don't need to hustle. You just need to, do the work.
First
and
time
do-
hearing this from a founder, actually.
No, genuinely, I don't believe in hustle culture at all.
Mm.
I don't. I mean, if you love what you do, and
Right.
you that
Mhm.
that itself gives you that courage to be able to get
Mm.
up every day and show up.
Yes.
So I wouldn't call that hustle. I think hustle is something that something that you're doing out of your
Right.
comfort zone. But this is my comfort zone. I want to do this, right? That
Mhm.
willingness and that courage you need to have.
What gap do you see in your industry? Do you see a gap? Like you said, like I saw a gap when you started this business.
Yeah.
You did see a gap. What gap do you see now?
In the industry,
Yeah.
what gap do I see now? I mean, not in the same industry. I'm already building my next
Right.
brand. So
Oh,
there's
okay.
something new that's coming up in like next month. It's very
Okay.
different from the kind. It's nothing remotely close to what I'm doing here.
Okay.
Completely new, fresh concept, and that's another new gap that I
Mm.
found. So
You want to talk about it?
building that. I mean, it's a fun thing. It's built again for families, for humans. It's got a lot of thought behind why and who we're building for. It's
Mhm.
happening at Dumlur itself, at where my first restaurant was. We've shut that down, and now we're building something new there. It's going to open in maybe the end of March.
Okay. Do you think people should rent out places for starting something, or instead buy the place and start?
Rent always, at least
Rent.
F&B. It doesn't make sense.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, at least if the way I look at it, it doesn't
Mm.
make sense. Also, it's a very broad question, because if you're the owner and then you have 15 properties and you don't know what to do with
Yeah,
it, then that's a
right.
different scenario. But for the numbers to make sense, I would rent. I would not
Mm.
ever start a
Yeah.
restaurant in my own premises.
Okay.
Unless I'm
So
like
much
living there, or I'm
investment,
in,
yeah.
sitting in Goa in a villa and I want to just start a little cafe, then that's a very different
Mm,
story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a passion project, it works differently,
Mhm.
right? But if it's a business, and the numbers
Yeah.
is something that you want to work with.
Do you think Bangalore is getting now closer to the next New York with so many coffee outlets or so many cafes starting?
No, I think Bangalore is Bangalore and should
Okay.
stay Bangalore. Why would we want to make
Because-
New York
Like
has
that, yeah.
cockroaches? We don't want cockroaches.
Exactly.
We don't want to be New York. We don't want tall skyscrapers everywhere. No. And we definitely don't want what's happening with New York. So
Yeah.
we're very happy with Bangalore.
Mm.
Yeah. I think Bangalore should just stay.
And I feel kind of started in the perfect city because of your ambience, and Bangalore is very the nature is there,
Yeah.
so everything's there, so it's too perfect. So do you have a last note or something?
No, when you said ambience, the kind we worked with this philosophy of outside in, so it sort of gives you those textures. It gives you the garden vibe, the
Yeah.
green, the sunlight. I try to look for these things when I seek, look out for properties and find the right kind of space that I want to build the next kind. And we're also trying to grow kind into a fourth outlet that's happening this year. So these are few things that I feel like add to that experience or are in resonance with what we're trying to build here.
Okay.
Natural light, greenery,
Mm.
textures that replicate natural stones or make you feel like you're sitting within nature. We've not been able to achieve so much in the tech park because, of course,
Yeah.
it has its own restrictions. But the kind at Indranagar, it being an old bungalow, again, that sunlit or skylit space that you have on the right side, it's been able to create that dynamic. So
What's your dream place in India to start Kind?
Dream place.
Yeah, like if I want to think about that, I would say like
Good
Ooty or
question.
somewhere. Ooty would be great.
I think I would want to be in Leh.
Leh,
Yeah.
okay,
I would
that's great.
definitely
Wow,
want to
That's
open
great.
Kind in Leh. Like, imagine that
Wow.
Yeah.
snow and just sit and have like hot
Oh,
food and good hot
yeah.
coffee or like even a cold coffee. Why not?
Mm.
I
It
would
be
have a
beautiful.
Johnny Brownie even in
Even in Leh. Yeah, I definitely want to open Kind in Leh. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how I'm gonna do it now that you've said it. I think that should be my.
Yeah.
Yeah. You made me think on a lot of things, yeah, today.
What's something
Yeah.
you would want to tell us?
I would want to tell you.
Yeah, we are
Please
listening.
try
And all the
something beyond
people.
the Johnny Brownie. Have the cold drips. Our cold drips are really good.
That's for sure. We are exploring.
To begin with.
Yeah, we are exploring Kind's menu, but
Yeah.
something on life. Like we are 24 years old.
Yeah.
So what would you say
And
to
like
us?
many people who are watching this
Right.
are like
Our age.
Okay. So at 24, tell me what are your struggles or what do you think you would want to do? What are your aspirations?
I think the major problem of our generation, we can't work for a company also.
Yeah.
And we think like starting something is also a big struggle.
Why?
Because like, people
we
think
don't
like,
have patience actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
There's
like,
no patience.
will this
for
do
us.
business? Like we need, break even at 6 months. You know,
Yeah.
we have to sell out. We have to do this. Or we always think like, okay, if we want to start something, we need 5 crores or something in hand. Something like that. Always we want to do something big. It's like,
Yeah, I've seen this actually in a lot of young founders that they want success very quickly.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah. But that's not realistic, don't you think?
that isn't realistic.
I mean, it happens if you're lucky,
Yeah.
but it doesn't happen alone all the time with hard work.
Mm.
So, I have. Do you have a direction in terms of what you want to build?
Me?
Yeah.
Like personally?
Yeah.
No,
No, not yet.
not yet.
Yeah. So maybe I think get more clarity. I would love, I would love to see more people just be open to. Like I said, I think there's a lot of egos today. I see a lot of egos, not just with the younger generation, but also the older generation. So I feel
Right.
like it'll be nice to sort of just be open to conversation, learn from each other's journey. I think knowledge is best when it's shared. I'm happy to, learn, talk to people, like actually take out time, an hour or two a week, just meet people, understand, or meet people who are, who have built better, greater, bigger things. Because if I
Right.
can learn from their journeys, why not? It just cuts that extra. Maybe I don't have to go through the same thing if I correct my mistakes early.
That's what we are doing now.
Yeah. No, so that really
Yeah.
helps. I think I'm glad if you're doing that. I
Yeah.
think you're on the right track.
Mm.
Because I did make a lot of mistakes, but
Mhm.
I realized this was something that was working for me. Talking to people is always helpful.
Right.
Yeah. Just seek advice.
If someone wants to start something in your own industry, would you be open to giving them any advice?
I have already given a lot of
Okay.
people advice.
No, after this episode, if someone wants to,
Happy to connect always.
Okay.
There's no problem. Yeah. I'm happy to spend the day or let them come in and, take a look at what we do. We do talk to people all the time.
Mhm.
So I'm happy to connect with young founders
Okay.
within the industry or not, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I also feel like a lot of this whole Gen Z thing that comes up every time. I've
Right.
had the best experience working with Gen Zs, surprisingly.
Really?
So when people say Gen Zs don't work
Oh.
with me and this and that,
Right.
I feel like maybe you've just not attracted the right
Mm.
people.
Don't you think like Gen Zs are too more of a rebel or something, like they don't want to listen to you, or they don't want it your way?
But why do they need to listen to me? They need to do their thing, na? They
Like if
don't-
you're hiring for someone, isn't that difficult?
But I don't need them to do what I do. I need them to do what
Right.
they need to
They-
do.
Exactly.
So if I create
Yeah.
that environment for them to be able to do what they need to do, it's fine.
I think
Right.
you're going to get a lot of applications after this
I'm
episode.
open to. I have had the best experience. I'm telling you, because also I feel like they update me on a lot of things, which is great.
Great.
Why not? Yeah. If I get to learn 5 new things about this upcoming generation that are my future clients and customers, why not? That's
Oh.
insight.
Exactly.
What's your end goal for Kind? Like that's
I have
one thing.
I have a 6-month goal and I have a
Oh,
2-year
okay.
goal. Like I know I want to build
Mhm.
Kind. Now we're moving out of Bangalore.
Okay.
I've launched the merch. We're also doing the new edition of the merch. Our merch sold out so quickly. It was so nice
Oh,
to
nice.
see. Yeah, so I feel like I have, do we have the journal? I want to talk about the journal. Can you pass that?
Yeah.
I think this is something that this is a surprise for you also.
Right.
So Just
Magic book, is it?
No, so when you asked me about what I do differently at the Kind, right? Because Kind is, like I said, made for humans. There are things that I have done and designed here which reach you and your homes, which is beyond these four walls. So with the merch, that was the idea
Okay.
that you're wearing Kind, or or you experience it, or you now the coffee is going to be coming up on retail. So how you can use the Kind blend and the Kind coffee at home. And then there's a little piece of me that I launched this year. I've been working on it for the last 2 years. We only designed it in the last 8 months, and it's finally printed and ready to be on the shelf. And I don't think I've spoken about it. This is literally the first time I'm talking about it. So this is a Kind journal.
Wow.
Oh.
Now it's very rare for a cafe to sort of make a book,
Right.
isn't it?
Yeah.
But like I spoke
Mhm.
about earlier in the podcast, that I did go through a lot personally and professionally in the last 2 years. And this is something that I built over the last 2 years, which helped me. So it's called a kind of a journal, and it's not a gratitude journal, or it's not a planner, or it's not just a regular notebook, but it's something that is for the in between, where you're just
Okay.
maybe you have a solo moment and you open it. It's undated. There are no page numbers. There's no date on it, so it's not like you're
Oh,
on.
nice.
You don't have to be on the go and then you say, oh shit, I've missed a page, and then you just put it in the bin because the year ends. It's something that helps you through your happy days, rough days. Also has, I feel like sometimes not everybody is into writing, like hi dear diary,
Mhm.
you don't want to write essays. So some pages have prompts that sort of have open-ended prompts, which you can, just thought evoking.
Right.
And maybe it leads to some clarity, maybe it gets you the answers that you need to. And then there are certain things that were taught to me by different people over the last 2 years when I was dealing with stuff that I've included. One of them being, I'll just read out this one. It says, a good life is built on steady choices, not perfect ones. So this is a little bit about the mistakes, and then just about what we were talking about earlier. And there is one page which has like little things that you can do to sort of bring in kindness in your life, because I feel like that's lacking. Like you said, a lot of people are in a rush and don't think about how others feel in their presence or by their words or whatever. So how you can choose kindness every day. So it's got a little bit of a checklist. And you can do it at your pace. So there's no start and end time.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to put a time frame to anything. You can just do it as and when you like. So I'm going to give it to you. Take a look.
Sure.
And I hope you enjoy it.
Can I keep this?
I don't know if you can keep it today, but I'll send you one because
Sure.
we just got one copy to shoot with.
Okay.
But I will send you
Sure.
one.
I think the way it looks is like too good, like the
Yeah.
aesthetic
Thank
of
you.
it.
Thank you.
Odi, even this is Odi. Wow.
I think now I can imagine, like, Kind is more than a coffee. Like,
That's why
Yeah.
it's not really just the F&B experience.
Mm.
And it's not just the ambience
Right.
or the food. It's genuinely how the Kind can embody,
yeah.
or it's like it's not tangible always. It's how
And
you feel here.
Honestly, in the beginning, I asked you, how did you get everything right? Is it the people over here,
Yeah.
or the quality of the food,
Yeah.
or the ambience and all of that?
Yeah.
But I think kind is kind because of you.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Honestly, like this wouldn't be possible without you.
I
And
haven't
you're
seen it
making
that way,
this
but
work so well.
thank you.
Honestly, it's because of you.
That's very humbling. Thank you so much for that. Really.
And thank you
That's really
so
sweet.
much for doing this podcast with us.
I'm
It
so
was
happy.
wonderful
I could.
talking to you. That
Thank
we
you.
got so much to learn from you, and even the people,
Thank
obviously,
you.
watching this, all these aspiring founders would, they'll be getting all the tips and.
So happy that I
thank you so
could
much for
add
all of
value
this.
to your podcast as well. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I'm
Thank
just
you
very
so
grateful
much.
for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.